GALAXIAS Chapter 3 honestly builds up from the hype. Last chapter we had a bit of a more slice of life world building chapter, getting to know the local area, some of the locals, and build upon a bit more of the lore with a really cool cliffhanger at the end. Getting to see more of NERAID and Geo's dynamic and their interactions with other characters and people. And it was just so much fun getting to see these characters do stuff and not have to focus on an action-based chapter so soon. And it's actually pretty refreshing because most new gen manga nowadays have to have an action chapter almost for the first opening chapters and then build up to like some world building a bit more as well as some more character interactions. But this one gave us a bit of a more winding down chapter with the world building, but this chapter ends up giving us more character interaction but leads us to not just more lore, but also another pretty cool action scene that's going to go into the next chapter, and I am very excited for this, and I'm really happy that I'm covering this manga weekly, and that I'm probably going to keep covering this as it's doing pretty well on the channel so far, so let's see how this goes. But before I jump right into this chapter, after that long intro, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I'm making on the channel and shows you want to see more. And if you want to help support the channel more directly and want some really cool energy drinks and supplements, go check out Advanced GG, who I am partnered with the referral link down below, in order to get 10% off your order, and use my code GreekWeeb10 to get 10% off your order if you want something to help you focus while exercising, editing, gaming, or just general doing any daily activities. Advanced GG is for you. Now then, on with the chapter. So chapter 3 of GALAXIAS, titled "'Cause I'm a Kangaroo," and yes, we will see what that means towards the end of this chapter. So the chapter starts off a day after the events of the previous chapter, where the town was more or less kind of settled in with their brand new plan, as now Geo and NERAID are kind of arguing over where they should go in terms of direction from their whole adventure, as Geo wants to go up the mountains, but NERAID doesn't want to because he thinks the bugs will be disgusting to eat, and Geo is questioning why the hell he's even considering that they'll eat the bugs on their journey anyway. All the while, bystanders are kind of looking on and seeing that they're still arguing over this. But the conversation goes to Polta, as he told them to meet them at this one spot that they're in. Polta ends up calling them over, as he is now tan with star sunglasses, trying to act, I'm not sure how to call this, hip, I want to say, which completely shocks Geo, as it's only been a day since that's happened. How could he go through such a massive change? Polta says since he's going to be a guide now and their plan's going to be done into fruition, he studied up in order to see that he has to be a bit more cheerful to get people's attention. And right now he feels pretty awesome. But the tan is kind of a bit much, especially considering it's only been a day. But hey, you do you. But Polta is so confident he ends up going up to the dog that barked at him yesterday. It growls at him and he's instantly, yeah, never mind. And he just instantly goes back to his old personality, and then the next panel he's all of a sudden not tan for some reason. I feel like this was a dumb joke. Maybe this was just a fake tan for all I know, and he just washed everything off screen. I got no clue. Either way, the bit was fine. But Polta ends up reacting to the fact that Geo and NERAID are looking for Yuri Holst, the criminal, the guy who is said to have killed the Dragon King, stating that you'd get charged with treason just for talking with him. And NERAID just points out that, yeah, Geo's his daughter, and Geo just found out literally the other day. And they're traveling to meet her real father, as Geo's like, it's kind of hard to explain, but I want to know what kind of man my hero is. I want to meet him and decide for myself. And if he's a bad guy, well then, I'll sock him for leaving his cute daughter behind. Honestly, very reasonable motivation. You hear those things about your dad after literally just realizing that your childhood hero is a criminal and also your father. You're gonna want to meet him and see for yourself if, let's say, he did kill the ruler of your country. But yeah, they are in trouble with the whole treason thing. Polta is kind of in awe as he states that they're amazing, running off to search for a man who even the dragon government can't find. But states if anybody can find him, it's them. But as they're walking over, they notice an old lady collapsed on the ground. And the lady is kind of mumbling to herself, want to punch a crying person from behind, which is kind of weird, and Jill's like, okay, this person's kind of messed up. But Nera tries to wake them up, as Polta states not to do it, as there's this urban legend, if you wake somebody up from their sleep talk, that person will never wake up again, assuming they'll go into a coma or die. And Nera's like, whew, man, almost killed that lady. Thanks for telling me. But Gio's like, come on guys, that's just a superstition. This has nothing to do with it. Let's just help the lady. It says there's a reason why they don't do this, and in the very next panel, as Gio is trying to rebuttal Polta, a head comes out of the back of this lady saying, what a good nap. And everyone's face is like me. I feel like this is nightmare fuel and kind of horrifying, especially with the face. As the head from the back of this lady says, oh, I found a cutie, Gio rightfully punches the guy in the face. We cut to a bit later as we go to a bar, as it's revealed that, well, this person laying down on the ground and the guy coming from her back are kangaroo dragons. Yeah, we're meeting more dragon folk this chapter, and to make matters more interesting, they're a kangaroo dragon. So obviously the title of the chapter makes a lot more sense now. But the old lady is smoking, they're having basically a nice time at the bar, and are basically treating Gio and NERAID for the trouble that they caused and scaring Gio. Telling them to eat all they want after they kind of caused trouble over getting hungover and sleeping on the side of the road. But the lady says, eat all you want, it came from my pocket. Because I'm a kangaroo. And they have their own bits apparently, because kangaroos have pouches. And that's where she kept the guy and how he was hiding, so that's interesting. But Gio starts thinking critically at this moment, stating that this is the first dragon folk that they've met since leaving the island. It's possible they're government thugs, so they've got to be careful. But NERAID, with caution to the wind, not having full-on self-awareness, says, this is the first time I've talked to dragon folk. You see, I'm actually, and then Gio instantly freaks out, covers NERAID's mouth, and states, look, we have no idea who they are, and I told you not to stand out. Don't go babbling to total strangers. As the old lady is assuming if they have problems with dragon folk, as they're saying no, not at all. But the lady says, oh, that's too bad. As Susie states, and here I thought I was gonna have some long overdue fun. As NERAID says, what do you mean? Susie says, we want to form a knighthood. As we and Gio and NERAID are like, a knighthood? Polta is apparently there also, and he's off in the corner, stating, a knighthood is a government-approved vigilante group led by a dragon knight. We then get a nice little appearance of like the local map of basically the nation, as they continue to say, thanks to its dragon knighthoods, the Laniakia kingdom is in a state of peaceful conflict. That's pretty interesting. Stating that the dragon government doesn't really exert much control, so the various regions enforce their own laws. So, more or less kind of going like, okay, we're the kingdom, we got our own knights and stuff like that, our own government, but all these general areas, you guys can kind of self-govern to an extent. You guys have your own laws and whatever, but you're all under our kingdom and our jurisdiction and all that. And led by dragon knights, seemingly based from the kingdom, and thus they can form groups that can govern their own areas. So that's very interesting. It's based off of, well, strength. Susie goes on to say, that's right, and the only requirement to become a dragon knight is pure strength. If you beat the dragon knight charged with controlling an area, then the knight's jurisdiction transfers to you. Which would be very interesting, because since NERAID beat Yerkes, technically, if people knew about that, he could actually take his place as a dragon knight. Though, now that they're fugitives, chances are that's not going to happen, but you never know. They could always fake their identities at some point. And apparently it is a pretty badass system, a whole might makes right thing, and it's apparently right for dragon folk like them to kind of exert their power, and they tend to start fights with each other when the time rises every now and again. So that does honestly check, and that's a nice piece of information to know about dragon folk. The son, William, ends up saying that, and the lack of a Dragon King presents a big opportunity for people, because they could even join the Royal Zodiacs, which means we got another tier of these Dragon Knights. So, more powerful and more direct lines to governing the nation and their defense, seemingly, based off of the fact they're higher than Dragon Knights, meaning that there are people stronger than Yerkes. So, that means that NERAID didn't take out one of the nation's strongest in Chapter 1. So, this does solidify more of the stakes and the power structure of this world to an extent. As Gio is thinking, I don't kind of get it, but at least they're not after us, which is honestly very good, at least at the moment. Susie says, I love violence more than anything. If I make a name for myself as a Dragon Knight, the strong folks will come from all over to fight me. Talk about golden ears. So, "Don't feed me that bullshit, kid," as the mood instantly shifts, as she can tell that they're lying. She states, "You're strong, ain't ya?" The vibe completely changed. William says, "No need to hide it. You're dragonfolk, right?" Mom's an expert at picking out strong guys. "You seem even better than the local dragon knight." "Well, up for a round with me?" As NERAID says, "What do you mean?" As Gio tries to just stop this situation and stop a fight from ensuing, she says, "Hold on, are you planning to fight here?" As NERAID's like, "Wait, hold on a second. I can't do that. I mean, I am dragonfolk, but I don't want to fight. However strong you might be, if I punched an old lady, I wouldn't be able to get any sleep." But Susie, in that instance, right when NERAID is finishing his sentence, she then socks him in the face, punches him square out of the bar, and right through across the block, with a nice, clean right hook. Man, that panel work and that artwork was so great. Again, the art for this series, even early on, is so good, and that was a nice impact. I love it. She just sent NERAID flying. That is just crazy. But Susie comes out and says, "How was that?" But NERAID comes out from the rubble and says, "Yeah, sorry, my bad, Granny." I'm fired up now as, oh man, this panel of NERAID just looking all fierce. Whew, boy, this looks awesome. I am so hyped to see him fight, and the way the mangaka uses the artwork to build up hype and anticipation is really cool. But as we move on, we see the bystanders knowing that this is a dragonfolk fight. And Gio's in the crowd being like, "Why does it always end up like this?" And this is definitely going to be something that's gonna keep occurring with every town they go to, most likely, and pretty classic for an action shonen adventure. But Susie continues to say, "If you've got guts, maybe I'll let you join me." NERAID says, "Gio said my power is a bit abnormal, so whatever happens, it ain't my problem." Good on you for warning her. Honestly, this just makes her more fired up. And she says, "Brats these days don't know how to speak up." As NERAID then charges straight at her, getting ready to attack. As she dodges his initial punch, she says, "How dull." But in the next panel, we see that NERAID is about to hit her from behind and twist around and throws her to the ground, as seemingly he got her. As people are essentially in awe at how strong NERAID is. NERAID says, "You can't fight back like this, so just throw in the towel, Granny." But Susie says, "And your view is so narrow." As NERAID is then punched with a clean uppercut from a giant fist. As in the next panel, we see Susie's tail seemingly merged with her arm, creating this big beastly arm that has punched NERAID away. As she says, "Try a little harder, kid. I'll die before we're done." As, man, this is insane. Gio's in shock, just like me right now, stating that her arm combined with her tail and it became huge. As William says, "This is a kangaroo's true essence." As NERAID is getting up, he says, "Didn't know you can use a tail like that. What am I supposed to say at a time like this? I think it's not bad, lady." Ending the chapter. So, we got big action set piece. We end up getting some bit more lore. And what's even better is that we got a new way to utilize this seeming power system of the dragonfolk. Seemingly they can combine their tails with their arms to make different arms for stronger attacks and punches, which makes me think that during this next chapter, NERAID will learn how to do that himself and give himself an upgrade as well, and he'll have to learn to do a fighting style. Now then, getting introduced to these characters, the concept of dragon knighthoods, and how each area is self-governed to an extent, things can go one of a few ways. Either A, Susie and William will join Gio and NERAID on their adventure if NERAID beats her, and they'll just journey around with them, maybe try and form their own knighthood, for all we know, or just go on an adventure to look for Yuri Host. Or NERAID will lose, and perhaps Susie will try and get him in a way where he'll join her knighthood, and then they'll work their way up the government, and because they're doing this vigilante group, perhaps they'll be at least not fully taken on by the government and the Dragon Knights, and perhaps even the Zodiac Knights immediately, and then they'll make their own, like, ragtag group. And it could also fall into the adventure aspect. It's really cool. We got a bunch of build-up and just a lot of Chekhov's gun in this chapter, with the fact that NERAID seems to be stronger than the local Dragon Knight based off of what Susie says. And there's just a good amount of stuff in this chapter to actually consider and next chapter will most likely be the fight and the end of the fight and a cliffhanger that'll lead us to whatever this arc is going to end up leading into and how the story will progress from here. All I know is that I am incredibly excited for what comes next. GALAXIAS so far in 3 chapters has gotten me hooked, and like I said at the beginning of the video, this is doing surprisingly well, even more than my GALAXIAS reviews, so maybe this will be the mainstay instead of GALAXIAS, but I'll give things like another 2-3 weeks, see how things go, and either way, I'm excited to keep covering this, if anything, because this is just so much fun to cover a brand new series, especially here on the channel now that Eden Zero's done, so I really love this, and it is a fantasy adventure, and I guess I'm the fantasy adventure channel at this point with manga. So, yeah, leave your thoughts, opinions, theories on where this could go in the comment section down below, and how do you feel about the chapters so far with the first 3. Can't wait to talk about this a bit more, and if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Helps and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make on the channel, showing you want to see more, and keeps me motivated to keep making these reviews and videos. And with all that said and done, I hope you all have an awesome day.